If you have just tuned in, yes, indeed, you are listening to the Feel Good Friday with myself, Vivi Fili. Now, experts have now recommended the term, rather avoiding the term fake news, so at least limit its use, as the term fake news is closely associated with politics, and this association can unhelpfully narrow the focus on the issue. But joining me in studio, inshallah, to chat a bit more about fake news, social media, and how we can navigate it is Neelo Khan, social media specialist and founder of The Secret Affair. Welcoming to the Feel Good Friday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, and how are you?
I'm Alhamdulillah. Happy Friday.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. But I think, you know what, this is such a topic that a lot of people face, and many people don't really talk about it. And I think it was something very, very important for us to address and, basically speak on. So let's get straight into it. Now, how can individuals differentiate between reliable news sources and those spreading fake news on social media?
You know, when you asked me about this topic, I told you that it's a bit of a heavy one, and I'll explain to you why. Because everything I'm going to tell you is going to be factual, but what it boils down to is it boils down to individuals. So with the shift from mass media culture to social media culture, it's allowed us to access information so immediate, so in such diverse ways, and it's quickly become the way people communicate and share information. But with that, like everything, there's a double-edged sword, and with social media, a large number of fake news comes into play. So the most important thing, or the first thing you'll need to understand, is the type of fake news. So I know you said not to use the word fake news because it depends. It seems more political, but there are different types of news that you'd get. So clickbait or misleading headlines. Stories deliberately designed to bring you to click on that link to read that story, used for websites. Because social media only shows us the headline or small snippets, people automatically see that headline and then they want to share, or they follow the link without even reading it. And people believe the news without actually
Verifying
the information. And then there's propaganda, which we all know. It's a biased perspective and based on political agenda, and we see that with the war currently and the genocide between CNN and Al Jazeera, and how they portray the news. Then unfortunately, everybody's human, and we also get poor quality journalism. So sometimes a journalist doesn't get all their facts checked, and they put out a story, and that becomes fake news, because they are a trusted source, but then they make an error. And as long as they are transparent with their readers, and they say that they were wrong, then it's okay. And then you also get like satire and parody. So this is usually jokes made more on the political stance, but also about famous people. So it's not to be taken seriously, and some people take that seriously. So to identify the fake news after understanding which category it falls into, you got to look at social media and see which kind of accounts are you following. So are you getting this news from a person, from like a just a normal person? Is it your cousin, your aunt, a friend, or just a influential person you follow on social media, or is it a business or a professional account? So is it coming from the business source itself? So once you establish those questions, once you establish that information, you can then ask yourself, so why is this person sharing that information? Are they sharing that information because it's emotional? Is it professional? Do they know what they're talking about? And then, is it reputable enough for you to have they cited their sources? So is it coming from a business and the head of the business itself that is divulging this information, or is it something that is just an auntie sharing something that she said? We all have those aunties and people in our family that love to share stuff on WhatsApp during COVID, and any remedies they see or things they might find, and they're so quick to share it
without verifying it. But let's talk social media platforms. Now, what role can social media platforms play in curbing the spread of fake news?
So, okay, again, it depends on the standpoint. So with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they have automated bots that help us remove information that it could be fake news. Especially like during COVID, you would see those COVID notices on any COVID related post that you post, and that's when they worked with the World Health Organization. But then look at currently what's happening. Instagram shadow bans you if you talk about Palestine. So there's good and bad to the way they can curb it, but it also is based on the American view.
But I think, COVID was, I would say, an ultimate example, because I remember when we first were introduced to the COVID-19, everybody was going crazy. People didn't know what to do, where to go, and then any message that came up to say, oh, if you touch the door, if you walk, if you breathe. But then after a while, as we got into the the understanding of the virus and how it works, I think knowledge is indeed power.
Yeah, so they did put in those kind of assists on social media with Twitter and, well, now X, and Facebook and Instagram, but there's only so much they can do. They With small news or local news, they can't flag individual stuff. They can flag words, so like Palestine and genocide, they flag those things, but they can't necessarily flag every single little thing. So like I said, again, it boils down to the individual and what they take, how they're taking their social stance and their social responsibility into spreading news without verifying it.
100%. Now, are there any specific red flags or warning signs that people should look out for consuming news, especially on social media?
Okay, yes, there definitely is. So, like I mentioned time and time again, sources, lack of credible sources. If the article just states information but doesn't tell you where it's coming from, then you shouldn't share it until you know exactly where. You do your research, you check online, you check with news sources. And then it's also, like I said, depending on what news sources you're checking on, depending on bias. If there's overly sensational headlines, such as shocking discovery, or it's going to remove all pain. I have a dad who suffers with neuropathy, and he's always sending me articles with the latest find or medication that will help him, because it's based on emotional needs. He really wants to get rid of his pain. So sensational headlines, they kind of clickbait that get you, to just want to try everything or share that information with somebody might need that information, but it's not necessarily true. And then emotional language, and this we also saw during the times of when we had all of those protests, and people had to just stay indoors, and it was chaotic outside, and people would forward.
Oh, the unrest.
Yes, the unrest. Everybody would forward these voice notes and say, they're going to do this, they're going to protest, they're going to burn this, and sometimes none of it was happening.
True.
And people were just sharing it left, right, and center because it said, I am this police officer that's
Of the
stating
specific space. Yeah.
But there's no credible source. It's just somebody. This police officer could be anybody, and they do it a lot during protests when they want to
Incite fear.
Exactly, because it's emotional, and that's what gets people to spread it. And nothing could be actually happening, but they could stop an entire working day just by putting out one broadcast on WhatsApp.
I think, what drives a fake news. So what allows, I would say, the fuel to fake news is fear.
100.
Once you incite somebody with fear, and you tell them, if you do this will happen. A lot of people want to protect their families, want to keep their families safe. When we see unrest and strikes, and if you go out tomorrow, we're going to burn tires and burn the roads and burn everything, everybody gets scared for their life.
Yes.
So usually when something like that happens, people tend to stay back at home and just monitor the situation. Now, but what advice would you give individuals who want to be responsible consumers of the news, especially in this digital age?
Okay, so with social media, it works on algorithm, and with algorithms,
I like that word, algorithm. What is an algorithm?
Oh, I can't tell you, it's a secret, because sometimes I don't even
snap.
know. No, I'm joking. So algorithm works with pushing out information, and it's content that is digested by so many people, and there's ways you can push out your content on social media. There's tools, but also using clickbait headlines and and these kind of things that incite fear or emotion, it pushes out the algorithm. So if everybody likes something, they know that the more likes it receives, the more it's going to be seen, you know. And if you comment on it or copy the link or share to your story, these interactions help your page or help that information get seen more and more. Even if you don't necessarily share it and you liking it, you are adding to that. So I would suggest always checking the sources. So it, going back to checking, is it the right information? Is it something I want to put out there? So if you don't help them spread this news, even by liking it or commenting on it, until you know the truth, and don't share it until you know the truth.
But I think, clickbait, whoever came up with that was very smart, because sometimes we get caught caught up with, the clickbait, especially when it says you win a voucher to a specific space that we love, going to or attending or whatever the case is. And then they tell you, if you click here and then share with these, the moment they tell you to share to your WhatsApp contacts and groups, you must know, this one is a scam. But I mean, we all like free things. So
Yes,
anytime they
like
say
win a trip,
win,
you know, that's my favorite one.
Yes.
I think that's the only one that I share. You know, when the
Win a
airline
trip.
says win a trip and then share to your WhatsApp contacts, I'm like, okay, no problem. You all gonna get this message because I want to fly.
Oh, everybody wants to fly. All right. So how can, we educate? Because I know that social media is a space that everybody uses. How can we as individuals raise awareness about the dangers of fake news and, within our communities, especially as the Muslim community?
So it's going to be a little difficult with this one. So when somebody sends you something, and you can't see that it's true, I would suggest stopping and telling them instead of just ignoring it. Tell them, and this is something we actually do in our family as well. If somebody has sent us something that we can't verify, we're like, please don't share that information, because it could affect somebody in the wrong way, or it could be, what if it's something that will affect somebody's life, and they try it because you sent it to them and they thought that it would work, or if it's about somebody's reputation, so if you see somebody sharing something with you that isn't true, then tell them, ask them to stop, ask them to verify, do they know where it came from. Maybe asking them these questions will also help stop sharing it. And then if you see somebody sharing, or if you see fake news, you can share it, but then make clear that it's fake news.
Yeah, 100%. But the fake news, in this day and age has become so convincing that sometimes you can't really differentiate what's real and what's not, honestly.
True.
But now social media, let's talk social media, right? You are, I would say, a social media specialist. How have you navigated your way safely and profitably in this space?
Okay, so there's good and bad to everything. So social media is great for business. It's great to get your brand out there. It's great to build communities. It's great for information. So it is a great tool for information, and
basically information at your fingertips.
Yes, immediate information. I know when I want to look at a brand, there's two ways I do it. One, I go on Google if I want to visit a place to see where that business is located. And then two, if I want to see what they have, I will go to their social media page. So I will look at the products that they sell, or if it's a restaurant, I want to go see their menu on their Instagram page, and I want to see what they have. I don't know about you, but sometimes when my friends and I are trying out a new space, I always look at the menu first to see what am I going to order.
Always go online and see, what are they having here?
Yeah. I kind of fussy palate, so I want to eat something that I really want to eat. I only try new foods when I travel. But when I'm in a safe space, like, I want to eat something that I'm comfortable with.
And
So I use social media to go to their platforms, and I go to their pages and I check it out. So yes, social media for information is amazing because and with ads. So I'm a PPC specialist, and funny enough, when I posted about this, half my family asked me, what is PPC? So PPC is pay per click. And it's ads, basically. So ads that pop up on social media, Facebook and Instagram, where you have to fill in your information, your lead. So my clients can receive leads. So
Mm.
if you want to buy a car, for example, I work with some car dealerships and they are selling a car. You click that form and it gets you the information. They will contact you immediately. You no longer have to go to the dealership or phone the dealership or even go on Auto Trader, because sometimes when you're searching because of ads, it'll pop up because they know you're interested in a certain car because Facebook's listening
Yeah,
and Google's
always listening. Always listening.
and so there is great ways of using social media to our advantage, and also not necessarily for evil. I also post a lot about social media and how to use social media on my stories and stuff like that, but I get my information from credible sources. So in social media you have to learn every single day because it's always changing. It's not going to be the same. You
Absolutely.
have to just look at information before you put it out there.
Now let's talk about parents with kids. A lot of parents give their kids tablets and stuff to navigate social media and things like that. What advice could you give a parent to help their kids navigate social media safely?
So luckily our social media and YouTube, all of it, it's grown to a point where there's awareness about the dangers, and people communicating with children or children seeing the wrong things, because there's a lot of pop-ups, that you don't want kids to see, that come up on websites that you don't even know how they got you. And there's parental controls. So on social media, on your phone itself, and on YouTube, there's parental controls that you can look at. And in regard to any of the platforms, be it TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, um, they all have guidelines. So you literally can Google how to protect, like how to use parental controls, and it will give you a step-by-step guide. So the beauty part about these platforms is that it's not just there and without help. You can always just find out by following. So they don't necessarily have people who'll tell you, but they have the guidebooks, and usually it's pretty simple. So with parents, they could always use the parental controls. You can also, if you want your child, so if it's a child that's using YouTube, for example, you can lock your phone to only play those videos, or you can use YouTube Kids. I don't know how parents feel, or it depends on the parent, with their teenagers on social media. That's hard to navigate. So with that, parents would have to actually physically check, because there's creepy people
Everywhere.
all over.
And I think that, I think as parents, we can't necessarily, I'll say we because I have two small ones. Parents, we can't necessarily control the ads that come through, but we obviously can just watch what the children watch.
Yes. I mean, back in our day when we were little, there were cartoons that had so many
Firstly, when I was little, I used to play with mud and play with dolls and eat mud and play house. I never had a tablet and all of these things. So I think that the kids nowadays are so privileged
100%.
to play with tablets and watch all these different shows that help them. I think we just winged it.
Yeah, I did love cartoons though, but it was on the TV, so I agree. And it was hard for my parents to miss, but also I had working parents, so I didn't know, and I was too young and naive to know. But now I know that some of those cartoons that I watched as a kid was so inappropriate, because they
Absolutely.
have these messages in it. And I guess it just means parent communities need to come together and say, okay, I found out that this is not right. This cartoon has something that I don't want my kids to see, so you don't allow it. And okay, I'm not sure about everybody else, but we've stopped watching Disney because of the genocide. So we stopped watching Disney, and so a lot of the cartoons that I currently, or I still watch as an adult, I've stopped watching, which is sad, but it's what we need to do. We need to take a social stance in everything that we do and stand for something.
Absolutely. Well, Jazakallah so much, Neelo Khan. Please tell us how we can follow you on social media so we can learn how to navigate our social media safely and have a safe space to post our content.
Okay, so we have an Instagram and TikTok page. Most of our information can be found on Instagram. It is at asecretaffair.za.
And any other social handles?
We have Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. Instagram. We're not on Twitter.
As yet, but I think you're going to jump on that.
No, I think we're going to move to Threads.
Oh, okay. I think that's the new thing. We'll call you back next time and we'll talk about Threads and how we can navigate our way. But Jazakallah so much for joining me today.
Shukran so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
It's only a pleasure.